You're running a shop floor, not a Pinterest interest board or a fantasy football league. You don't need inspiration, you need things to work. So welcome to Build Your Way, a podcast from Cetec ERP. This is a show for manufacturers who are in it every day, from quoting and shipping jobs to troubleshooting quality and material shortages, all while staying a step ahead of what's next. We bring you stories from the field, lessons that stick, and strategies that actually scale to help you build better. Let's get to work.
Well, welcome back to the Cetec ERP Build Your Way podcast. My name is Taylor Wagen, and our guest today is not our usual David Scott Ryan co-host. Instead, it is my friend Susan Moody.
Hello.
I've known Susan for a very long time. I've actually known Susan for at least 20 years, if not a little bit longer. Much of which, now you are a full-fledged Cetec ERP employee, helping people with their small business accounting problems. But before that, when I first knew you, you were helping people with their small business accounting problems on QuickBooks.
Yes.
So that is going to be the thing that I want to peel anecdotes and warnings and cautions out of your brain today about what are the things that go wrong. So can you give me just the 30-second version of what you used to do with QuickBooks, and then?
Oh, sure. Well, I come from a CPA firm background. I was a staff accountant, and I did all the intake of data from our clients for tax process, and basically closed all their books and handled all of their mistakes that they made in QuickBooks. So it was my job to make the financials perfect for dropping into a tax return.
Creative accounting.
Not a term we used in the CPA.
Okay, how many different companies would you have seen in the course of, I guess, a year?
Oh, gosh. Between 20 to 30.
20 to 30. Okay. And then were they, what types of small businesses?
Everything.
It was everything.
Yeah, it was across all businesses.
Interesting. Okay. So I have this belief that QuickBooks is not, I work for an ERP company, right? So, obviously I have some belief that QuickBooks is not the end all be all for manufacturing. In the place that I run into it, that it's great for bookkeeping, but when you start adding significant inventory transactions, that's where it seems to be difficult. Would you affirm that in your history?
Yes, I would. Either version, desktop or online, you do not have the capabilities and inventory that somebody would find in Cetec.
Probably would need. Okay, but there is definitely a subset of companies for which QuickBooks is quite sufficient.
Smaller manufacturers, I would say, and any other type of business that, of course, isn't handling inventory or would be perfectly happy with QuickBooks.
Yeah, especially a small services company, you'd be you could do that all day long, right? But if you start dealing with actual inventory issues, then I'm you should probably make the move. I mean, there are a couple plugins for QuickBooks, but again, I've tended to see those work really well with garage level, distribution. I have special gift baskets I sell in my garage, and I track inventory around that.
That's interesting that you mentioned that, because QuickBooks Online uses bundles rather than bombs. There's no bomb availability.
Yeah, I've yet to see it effectively work with any actual manufacturing.
Right. Larger manufacturers typically end up going to enterprise, but that's the desktop.
Oh, it's still desktop only. I didn't know that.
Only. And even that still has shortcomings.
Well, that's funny.
Well, they end up, many of them, integrating with a dedicated inventory management system.
Oh, okay. Well, with QuickBooks with it?
With enterprise, yeah.
So that is the thing that I have never seen work well. And a little bit of history on that is whenever we're importing from when somebody's moving off of QuickBooks Enterprise with an inventory manufacturing plugin, the data is always like not a little bit off. It's a lot bit off.
Right. Well, you end up with manual ledger entries to the QuickBooks data, and then that just allows for mistakes to be made, and so it's still not an ideal situation.
It's a scary one. When we're talking to, in like, sometimes I'll do like a sales qualification call, like somebody will hit and they're like, oh, I'll talk to them. I'll see if Cetec is a good fit. And you're like, hey, this is what we do. You know, if it works for you, great. We'll let you see it. We'll give you a free trial. So great. But we want to evaluate, like, is this going to be a good fit for them? And they need to evaluate, are we, like, you know, are we going to date? Are we going to get married? The only thing that I'll tell them is like, hey, if you're looking at other ERP systems, I could tell you that one does not, they don't, like, you're looking at that. That's a retail system. Your manufacturer, don't look at that one. That one is, check these out. And then I will often say, don't do QuickBooks with an inventory plugin, because I've never seen it actually work well. Have you had any good experiences where you've seen that actually happen? Okay, you haven't. Well, I like to think somebody's got it working and it's happening. So,
well, I'm sure they have, they have their plan set up for how to make that work for them, but it still involves manual entries that are not, native to the environment. So
funny. Okay. We at Cetec technically have an integration to QuickBooks, and it's a fascinating problem for us, because I think QuickBooks as a system is stable, but occasionally parts of the API will fail. And when we get an error on a transaction that's like, this is a normal transaction, we're pushing a customer, we're pushing AR, and it'll like just give us an error that's like a random one. It works the other times. This one errored out. We don't know why. We cannot get support at all. Like, we can get zero. So I'm a little nervous at this point to recommend that people use Cetec ERP and QuickBooks, or at least what they should know is, like, occasionally something will just break and we can't figure out why, and we can't get an answer back.
We can't help you with your QuickBooks support.
Like, we'll get no answer. Like, well, it will be 3 months and we'll have not gotten a reply to the email. And the advice is like, just try it multiple times until it works. And it's like, I can't in good, like, I feel weird advising somebody that.
Oh, right.
Oh,
well,
sorry.
I think most QuickBooks customers would honestly say that QuickBooks support in any situation is a problem. It's a big problem.
That's not their strong point.
No, it's not. And then you add that, the integration aspect. And I'm finding that even in talking to customers who think they are interested in a Cetec QuickBooks integration, once we walk them through that process and what has to take place, adjustments that still need to be made in QuickBooks based on what pushes from Cetec to QuickBooks, I can usually see the wheels turning. We're thinking, maybe we should just do Cetec.
Right. Well, everybody's got to do their own calculus here. Okay, so accounting is... I think that accounting is one of the areas that most intimidates a small business owner or operator. It has like the mystique of specialized knowledge, and it doesn't feel like a thing that you can easily look at and make sense of. So when you'll meet people, it's like within accountants, if you get people, and you ask a question about tax, like, oh, I'm not a tax guy. Right. Very quickly, people will run in like, oh, I'm not a tax guy. That's really less accounting. That's more legal. And if you like, it's awesome. That's on my Cetec ERP bingo, that you can get somebody in the room to say, oh, I'm not a tax guy, but, and you're like, okay, that's great go live for me. So with this idea that accounting is intimidating, there's some specialized knowledge, and as a small business, you're in management, you're going to bump up against it, right?
Right.
So the thing that I'm most hoping to get out of my chat with you today is, what are the things that people should be aware of that go wrong in small business accounting? And, share some common anecdotes, things that are like, okay, if you're going to, keep your eye on 3 or 4 things, these are things that often just go straight wrong.
Right. Well, I think from the financial statement aspect, they can be, those reports can be a little intimidating, and especially if you don't have a financial background. And so helping them to correctly shape their account list, and so that things are going to format correctly and on the balance sheet and the P&L. That's a big deal. And then
that account list alone, I find the instinct for people on the small business side is they will, once they figure out, I can push transactions, and then they create infinite numbers of accounts for everything.
I know.
And the instinct to do that, like I understand, usually that means to me that somebody is coming out of QuickBooks and they had to do all of their their cost accounting. They're doing it from a P&L or something because they weren't backing reports. And so they learned to do it all with accounts. And it just doesn't scale very well.
Right. And so we encourage newer customers to refine their account list so that it's less lengthy vertically, and perhaps consider cost centers if they need some reports that's going to move them out horizontally. Mainly it's because of the mapping issue in Cetec. The GL transaction mappings are very specific to one account, and they may have several sub-accounts that they're wanting to post to. So, yeah, those are things that we can work through and get them to where they need to be on their financial reports. Plus, they're just used to seeing a particular kind of report format in QuickBooks or some other program like that. And so it just takes a little bit for them to get accustomed to a little bit different. You've
been like trying to help reformat Cetec ERP accounting reports to look more like QuickBooks, knowing that that's just where people's expectations are. So a lot of that's in process right now, actually, to QuickBooksify, some of the ways like a common accounting report looks, because that's just what people are, for better or worse, that's what we're used to.
Mm-hmm. So. That's true. A lot of it is about some of the options that are available in the QuickBooks reports that we haven't had just yet. So we're trying to provide some more options. I wouldn't say so much that we're trying to make it look like QuickBooks, because QuickBooks has got some issues with their reports as well. So it's just making it something that the CPA who's going to be filing the customer's tax return is going to be more comfortable with.
Happier.
Yeah.
Okay, so on my list of things, I feel that I would be very happy if more small businesses kept an eye on the delta between their actual, like, what is their inventory value as it's represented by the value of the inventory, and then what does it show on as their asset value, like in the ledger, and making sure those are together, and doing the same with AR, and doing the same with AP, and doing the same with your cash and what your bank says. Like those basic reconcile points.
Yes.
I would love to see people do more of that.
Yes.
That's I think my number one.
That's one thing that we've begun to send to customers immediately when they're going live. Here's a list of things that you can do at the end of an accounting period, or you can do them once a week, whatever your comfort level is, to make sure that everything is reconciled, and the reports that we recommend that they access agree to the GL account, the balance sheet, or the P&L. So very, very useful steps. And once they get used to performing those tasks, it becomes less time consuming and more familiar to them. So
yeah, there's one of my projects internally is I'm going to do a little like Cetec ERP education for like new hires on learning accounting. So the first one will be, accounts, double entry, and like how we do mappings.
Right.
And you take a transaction and like, where does it go? I feel like helping somebody understand that is just, I understand what's happening, and when it posts here.
Yeah.
That'll be number one. Number two is going to be just reading financial reports, right? Like, how do you read a statement of cash flows? How do you read a P&L? Stuff like that. And then number three is the one we're just talking about on a period close and reconcile.
Yeah.
Right. That's like the third thing. You gotta be able to do, to some extent, all of those things effectively.
Yes.
And I think the third one, because it's not crucial for your day-to-day operation, it's like flossing, it just kind of gets shoved over there. I would do it sometime, and then 3 years later you have this we're ripping out your molars, and you're like, what's the last time you looked at your AR,
I know that, yeah, the catch-up can be very...
It's going to get you at some point. Okay, so that would be my list for like any system. Like if you're on Cetec ERP, if you're on QuickBooks, if you're on, SAP, I don't know. Like doing those reconcile things, I think is very, very important.
And locking down your date at the end of a period.
A long period lock. That's very big. What else? What else did you see as like a recurrent pattern, especially for like, if somebody in the audience is like, I'm running in QuickBooks, what are the things I should be scared of? That like I should be doing this, or I should make sure I have this correct?
I think one of the things that I didn't even realize until I started working for Cetec is that when you make a change in QuickBooks to cancel, QuickBooks will call it delete, some kind of entry, the entry completely goes away. You don't have any record that it was there. Even
if it's in a closed period?
Well, you can override that, just like we can temporarily open up a closed period. Yeah, you reopen it and make the change, and poof, it's gone.
Wow.
So that's a little bit scary.
It's not reversed. It's just gone.
Not reversed. It's gone. Yeah. So I find that to be a huge plus in Cetec, that you can cancel something and it just reverses. And even if the period's not closed, it makes the entry on today's date unless you change it.
Right.
So that you preserve particularly aging in prior period. The other issue with QuickBooks, so I only realized recently, is that while you can access the transaction journal, you can't change anything on it.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. So your only choice is you can edit from the edit screen, but you cannot physically access the transaction journal and make a change there, like the date or the account that's posting to. So
that's interesting. That's, I think, one of the greatest things about QuickBooks that is also the hardest for somebody with a traditional accounting background is it's there's a ledger, there's double entry, like it's all very, very orthodox, but some of it they've placed this layer of like easy on top of that I think is great, and they've done a great job with it. But if you are an old school accounting person, you're looking for the ledger, you want to go see these things, and you want to get under the hood, and that's actually reasonably hard to do.
Yes, it is. I guarantee you most users don't know how to find the transaction journal on an entry. So it's a little bit hidden.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So in your prior days of cleanup and consulting, were there patterns of things that you had to clean up? Is it usually just mismatched, like transactions are posted in the wrong account, or what are the things that would be like, just, what went wrong?
Usually it's misclassification on the part of whoever's doing the data entry is typically not a financial person. They're doing data entry for an authority in the company who is a financial person. And so there's a lot of just misclassified entries.
Just posting the wrong account.
I cleaned a lot of that up. And a lot of AP and AR cleanup.
Yeah. That checks out.
Yeah. Yeah. And training too. You don't want to do the same cleanup year after year. So you want to train the person. And I feel like that is an objective with Cetec, is to really try to train the accounting staff.
Yeah. Yeah. And it seems as though in any accounting system, the more you can front load on the setup side with like rules, this vendor I want to post here, this customer I want to post here, this transaction I want it to look like this, if you can set your rules up very nicely, then the activity will follow the rules. So it's like a stitch in time saves 9. It's the good book says.
Yeah, and I think we try to do some of that educating during the GL transaction mapping process.
Yeah, exactly.
Trying to explain to them the system will work properly for you if you set it to direct things to the right place on the front end.
Every now and again, you find some real wonderful things there. I think the most egregious are like when somebody will have like, it's a circular posting, we're going to debit inventory and credit inventory on the receipt. And you're like, well, in what world was this ever going to do anything? That's a 0. Your inventory has zeroed. That one's a classic. I remember seeing at a company I will not talk about, I was moving them to Cetec ERP from QuickBooks. And yeah, there were a number of points of chaos. When you're like, you walk in the door and within 10 minutes, if not by the time you get to the conference room, you basically know what you're up against. This one turned out to be extremely true. So I'm finally in dealing with transaction mapping sometime around day 3 of this go live. And I'm looking at their old books and old transactions. And it dawned on me that like, this is not just a mistake. This is fraud.
Oh.
And so like,
That's wonderful.
I pulled the owner aside and I was like, can I show you something? And
Not the conversation you want to have.
yeah, not in public, right? Like this here, like, and like, do you see this? And he was like, yeah. So
Busted.
it turns out there was a second person who had been a part of the company and was in charge of transactions. And he's the CFO and was attempting to drive the price of the company down so that he could buy it all. So it quite literally was fraud.
Wow.
But like in a way that would be like you're depressing the value of the company. And I remember thinking like, oh, that's fascinating. So this person had already been found out, had been like, was gone, had exited.
But they hadn't figured out all the ways.
They had not uncovered all of the pieces yet. And so that was memorable. I think it was close to one of those moments, what is that, the plot of The Accountant, where some actress discovers some deep-seated fraud and they hire an accountant who's also a killer assassin or something. I don't know.
Forensic accountant with a gun.
Yeah, exactly. The details are important. The point is that's as close to movie plot as I've ever gotten to.
Goodness, wow. That's crazy.
It was crazy.
Well, and then your job is to educate them. Okay, the purpose of these GL transaction mappings is we provide suggested accounts so that the system will function the way that you will see the financials that you need to see to help you operate efficiently, correctly.
Yeah.
We do get a lot of pushback, though, on GL transaction mappings.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
There was one recent GL transaction mapping where somebody was insisting that this only, like, in accounting, you always hit 2 accounts. There's a debit and a credit. And they wanted only half of that and were insisting that only half of it take place.
We do not support that.
We do not support that, nor does any accounting system that is known in the Western world at this point. So
Which doesn't either.
yeah, there's like this is like that is not a thing.
Sounds like a manual ledger entry on its way.
It sounds like I don't even know. Yeah, but yeah, it is a fascinating thing. So there are safeguards in all accounting systems to make sure that you cannot do something like that would destroy your financials.
Right. And that's why you find QuickBooks is the way it is. There is that protective layer where they know that whoever is doing the data entry probably does not understand financial accounting.
It's bowling with those little inflatable bumpers that, keep the ball. It's good. I bowl better that way.
But then, that ends up not being very helpful to larger manufacturing companies.
Right. Yeah. You need some flexibility at that point.
That's why we're here.
There you go. All right. Any other great pieces of advice you wish the world knew?
Allow Cetec to help you with your accounting processes, manufacturing processes, the way that Cetec is designed to. And then if, you have ways that you want to make that tailored to your particular situation, then we can help you with that.
There you go. Sounds reasonable.
Hope so.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me.
Oh, well, thanks for having me.
Appreciate your time. And to all of you, this has been the Cetec ERP Build Your Way podcast. Until next time, stay at it, build your way, and thank you, Susan, for joining me. Those of you in the audience, if you would like our episodes, you can find us on all the usual platforms. And if you have any questions for Susan about small business accounting or QuickBooks or suggestions for topics you'd like us to cover, you can email us at podcast@ctecherp.com. Thanks.